it may seem like playing in number three is easier for an opener, but it really is not because it's a completely different position, requires
Yeah.
different mindset. So since Shomo is someone that
All right, guys, welcome to the 24th episode. It's me, Roey, here. With us, we got Rinat and Alfie. It's been the same bunch for a couple episodes now. We're just coming on the back of a really good series victory versus West Indies, but there are things to talk about because with the World Cup coming up, every time Bangladesh plays an ODI, everybody seems to relate it to what's going to happen in 2019. So we did lose the second game, but we had a comprehensive victory on the third.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish every match was like the third ODI. If that happened, I'd be very confident going into the World Cup. But the first match, it was very similar. West Indies got bundled out for under 200, but we lost too many wickets in that one for my liking. So this was a much better outcome. And the second ODI, of course, we lost thanks to a great innings from Hope. We will. I'm sure this topic will come back again because he was just so amazing. Really, it's very cool to see someone put up an effort like that. What do you think, Alfie? How are you feeling right now after the series victory?
I mean, it's pretty good. I'm not, it was a good game. I watched it, and I mean, we won the series. Pretty much it.
Sure.
The unfortunate thing is we probably lost a point or so in the rankings, maybe because West Indies are ranked so far below us, and they were able to take a game off of us. But I mean, the rankings formula, the equation is going to be like irrelevant in another year or so, so it doesn't really matter. We won the ODI series. Maybe it's all about right now. I mean, the year before the World Cup, it's just all about identifying the 15 players that you want to take to that tournament. And obviously, you won't be able to, nail down a starting 11 because that's going to change depending on conditions, maybe the
Sure.
opponent, injuries, things like that. But you want to get an idea of the best 15 players. And I don't think that we've done that, in my opinion.
So, what kind of idea did you get after these three matches?
These three matches, I've gotten an idea of who I think of who we don't want. Well, I'm going to rephrase it and say who we want. I think to give opportunities to
Okay.
in the world, not just leading up to the World Cup, but also in the World Cup. And I think Shomo Sharkar is one guy that like we have to persist with. Like I remember he got dropped like some time ago. He was getting chance after chance and he was failing in every format. But maybe that was a time when we should have maybe shifted him around in the order a little bit. Because right now, you can see he's batting at 6 some games. Today he batted at 3. So I think that Shomo is, he's got enough talent that we should try to always make room for him in the squad, in the and probably also in the 11 for limited overs cricket. I don't believe that he's suited for Test cricket, but for limited overs cricket, especially in the ODI team, I think he could be a devastating player when he gets going.
Right.
And I think we all know that.
Right. I kind of agree with you. So that leaves us with either Liton or Kayes. And I personally feel we did wrong with Kayes. The board did him wrong. They should
Mm-hmm.
have made him open. Uh, Having said that, I know he's the type of guy who just loves to be in the team, so he would be king himself because he still had a spot in the team, and 2 times he failed. Albeit against a very good O'Shane Thomas. I think most
Mm-hmm.
batsmen in the world, even the
Mm-hmm.
national sides, would struggle against him. What about Liton though? I'm interested in hearing what you guys. What do you think of what you make of Liton Rinat in this series?
Um, I think Leeton is still quite some time away from being the consistent version that we want him to be. It's going to take some time. I mean, if you look at it, for Shomo, even now, he is not the most consistent player, and he has been playing from 2015.
Oh yeah.
So, and Leeton came after him. So, For Liton, it's a very tricky situation for the selectors going forward, and especially in the World Cup, because personally, I would want someone like Imrul to be in the squad because he has played so much in away conditions, and he seems to be getting better in this format lately as well. But again, Liton is the kind of player that you would also want to invest for long-term purposes. So it's a mixed feeling for me, but I think he should be around the squad. If he may not make the final 11 on most days or a lot of days, but he should be around the 15 because he does have that talent, and on his day he can actually turn things around.
You're talking about Liton, right? There.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Liton and Imrul probably should be in the 15 going to the World Cup because Imrul actually we've seen that he can actually play well in overseas conditions and ODIs. His first century he hit was in New Zealand back in 2010, I think. So I would keep Imrul, but I think he's definitely a backup. And Liton also I think probably maybe should be a backup. Maybe I guess you could open with him to give that left-right opening combination. But Shomo did pretty well at number 3. I don't know if he'll be suited necessarily for number 3, but we'll see.
Well, we do disagree then. I was just about to say we agree. So I'm going to put Kayas above Liton when it comes to selection. I would want Kayas to be selected anytime in ODI before Liton gets his opportunity.
I don't mind. I think that's a fair.
That's
fair
fair
thing to
because
say. Yeah.
Kayas has played 8 games this year, and he's still the fourth highest scorer in the team for the whole year, which is pretty remarkable. In 8 innings, he has 200s and 250s. That's pretty remarkable consistency because I'm just looking up his stat, and he is actually averaging 62 this year with a strike rate of 90. So basically, if you look at his stats alone, he is better than even Mushfiq, Tamim, Shakib, all of them. So
for
to
sure.
discard someone like that, it's pretty tough. I understand.
Well, I think
that
his numbers are inflated by playing against Zimbabwe. Of his 8 games,
Not
3 of
just-
them are against Zimbabwe.
Well,
so that's
Not just this year, though. Not just this
Liton
year.
and Shomo also played against Zimbabwe too,
The
right?
last-
So
no.
it's not like they got discounted.
So
there.
I was looking this up when making a graphic for our Instagram page, but for the last 3 years, Tamim has an average of 65 or something. Sorry, 57. 57.
Mhm.
Mushfiq has an average of 47, and Guy is at 44. So those three they have been our best performers the last 3 years. Now, of course, the time he played with Zimbabwe that inflated his numbers, but you can call him a 1 year guy at least, because since the World Cup, these 3 guys have been on fire. Mushfiq, Gaias, and
No, they have. So I definitely think Imrul should be in, and he has he has experience as well. So I think he definitely should be in the squad that goes to the World Cup. Whether he cracks starting 11 or not, I'm not sure. And that's kind of I mean, it might be in some ways a good headache to have. Like who partners Tamim to open? Is it going to be Liton? Is it going to be Shomo? Is it going to be Imrul? And a case can be made for all 3 of them. All 3 of them have had a decent innings. I would say, in the pecking order, in the depth chart, it probably would go. I would go with probably. Man, it's really hard to say, but I would say Liton is third. He's the third guy. Yeah. I can't choose between Shomo and Imrul. It's hard to choose.
My suggestion is that they may actually keep Shomo at number 3, and then it's going to be a race between Liton and Imrul for the opening. Both of them are probably going to end up being in the squad, but maybe it's advisable to play only one of them. You shouldn't be playing 4 openers in the team like that, because I remember this from an interview with Mahmoud Isam a couple 2 years ago, where he was saying that an opening and a number 3 position, they're not the same thing. It may seem like playing in number 3 is easier for an opener, but it really is not, because it's a completely different position, requires different mindset. So since Shomo is someone that got used to it already, that's fine. But I wouldn't play either one of them, Imrul or Liton, down the order, just for the sake of keeping them in the 11.
Yeah, now I totally agree. And with Shomo, just going off your point, I feel like he's the type of guy you have to let him play his game. because he's very aggressive. And if he
You
comes
do,
in at
you
three,
do.
I wonder if he can do something like what England does, because there's just something about their game. Like you feel like they're cornered, you got them, cornered. They're not scoring as many runs, but then their next batsman will come and just start hitting fours, sixes. So I feel like maybe there's a chance we could do that with Shumble. Maybe
I
not,
think
but yeah.
I think Shomo is a very streaky player. So, once he gets into a good rhythm, he'll have a few games or even a few series where he's scoring runs consistently. But I think once he starts going down, that cold streak kind of continues for a while. So we just have to hope that
Yeah,
he doesn't get into his cold streak before the World Cup,
right.
because it's probably going to continue throughout the tournament for him.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, my opinion is we just need to make sure that we get what we're used to from the big guys, Tamim, Shakib, Mushi, Riyadh, that these guys are consistent. Um, and you really only need two of them to fire in any one game. And so, since we have four of them, we're kind of lucky in that regard that two of them, even if two fail, two of them will usually kick on and get a decent big score, and we're able to get a reasonable score. You
We
know,
have a bad history of failing when Tamim gets a duck.
Uh,
However, in the
And
what do you call
to
it?
be honest,
Let me just finish this point. So in the Nidash
Itihash,
yeah,
Trophy,
Itihash.
Tamim didn't
Oh,
play.
Nidas.
So
with that,
Tamim, Nidaz, whatever. So Tamim was out, but the middle order still did good on the virtues of Mushi and Mithun. So that's kind of good in a way because, like you said, if two of them, if they perform out of this four,
Yeah,
normally we tend to do really bad when Tamim gets a duck, but they can pretend. Even if Tamim gets a duck, they can just say, "Okay, remember, guys, back to the Nidahash Trophy. Tamim wasn't even in the squad, and yet we fought back." That's the thing. That's the key. They have to fight back. Whoever the batsman is, they need to counter.
exactly.
Yeah, we
And
have to
and
go.
the and the epitome of that was in the Champions Trophy against New Zealand when it was Shakib and Riyadh. Those are
Oh
the
yeah,
top four all
right.
failed. Tamim got out for a duck. Mushi was out for like a single digit score. We were 30 for 4, chasing 265 or something, and then Riyadh and Shakib came in and both of them hit hundreds. So you only need two of the big four guys to fire to win a
yeah,
game or to get a good, to basically to win a game. If you
Right.
get three of them, but if two of them fail, then the other two have to really step up big. But if one fails, then three of them can have decent contributions and we can win. But the other thing is also that we have to get. You still need some contribution from a fifth and sixth guy, and
yeah.
No,
that's what a
that's
lot of
understood.
times we haven't been having. In fact, the second ODI we didn't have any contributions from anyone else. The big four got decent runs, but nobody carried on to make a big score. And that's why we got a
Now,
subpar total of 250, and then it was chased down by Shea Hope.
right. No, that is another point which we'll get to. Rinat, you had something at the tip of your tongue, or I do have a point.
yeah, I was just gonna say that I think for Bangladesh, the plan has become that they need a batting lineup that can score, I would say, 270 to 280 or even close to 300, because I'm pretty confident when I say this that our bowling attack is not the kind of attack that any batting team in the world will score a ton of runs on most days, because Shakib is a very economical bowler. Miraz is pretty economical. Fizz is economical. That's 30 overs out of 50 where you are guaranteed to have a quiet 30 overs on most given days, right?
Yeah.
So I know we're talking about like batting friendly pitches in England and whatnot, and teams are more than capable of scoring 350 plus. But I don't think that's going to happen with our bowling attack on most days.
No,
Our bowlers can have
point
a
taken.
bad day, and it could happen. But I don't. I think most days, if our batting lineup can score anywhere close to 300, we would have an edge on that game.
Right. I mean that's what I always say. I want them to get 300 every match, and not blame it on the pitch or the opposition. Just get get your runs. Uh,
Well, I think at the World Cup in England, if the wickets are as they've been behaving the last few years, I think 300 is not going to be a big enough total on for most games. I think you're going to have to look to get 320 and 320 plus. Um, and so that's why I think that we need to try to get a batting lineup that can do that. And if you have Shomo in the team, you know, okay, even if he fails 2 games, in the third game, if he clicks and we get 330,
Yeah.
we can win that third game. The other 2 games if Shomo fails, hopefully we have more consistent players to pick up the slack. So
Right. Well, if that's the case, that we need 320, 330, then we're in big trouble. Because I feel like Bangladesh is a team, it takes them a while to get adjusted to new goals, new cultures. Right now, if we can get 300 plus, it'll be good. It'll be achievement for us.
I'm estimating that's what we're gonna that
Let's
325 is gonna be minimum par score on
all right,
most of the games. But
all right.
we
So
could get a surface where 280 is a winning score
right.
because I'll take you back. 2015 World Cup, that was the first World Cup where teams started regularly scoring 350 plus. And when we had that virtual knockout game against England, the one where Rubel, did really well at the death, and we knocked England out of the World Cup last time. At halftime, we had 275. That was what we ended up with, and we were looking to get closer to 300. Mushi was batting really well. Riyadh hit 100. They were batting very well, but we kind of collapsed in the last 5 or 6 overs. England bowled well, and we batted poorly. So I thought that we were going to lose that game, and that was the end of the World Cup. Mm-hmm. Because 275 was really a subpar total for that World Cup in those conditions. But we bowled well.
Yeah, our bowling bailed us out.
Our bowling bailed us out, and we got timely wickets and everyone contributed. Taskin contributed in that match. Mashrafi contributed. Rubel, of course, was the hero. But I think
I understand. But as Rinat said, that whatever the bowling does, they should be backed up by the batsmen. So we talked about the openers a fair bit. Let's talk about the middle order. How if we can make any changes to the middle order to get those 300 plus runs.
So I do agree with Rinat that I think that our bowling is a very decent bowling attack for ODIs in those conditions, and I think in those conditions we can be effective as well. I mean, as effective as most other attacks. So I think that we have the bowling capabilities to be a top 5 bowling unit. I think we also have the batting capabilities to be a top 5 batting unit. Well, look, maybe not because we don't have that explosiveness. We don't have that.
I was hoping we could talk about the finishers.
Yeah. If you guys think about it, though, I mean, I know we're all talking about how it's going to be a very seam-friendly conditions in England, but the last Champions Trophy did not suggest anything like that. The express bowlers are the ones that really struggled in the last Champions Trophy. So, it's where it's the continental bowlers like, India, seamers from Pakistan and India, the spinners from Pakistan and India, they were very successful. So I think our spinners can still play a very crucial role. I don't think it's going to be seamers only there at all.
No, I don't think the wickets are going to be seam friendly. I think they're going to be very flat wickets in England for the World Cup.
And our spinners generally does well in flat wickets though, in ODIs.
They do. Because
ODIs.
They do. And I do think we have one advantage. I'm sorry to keep cutting Roey off. One of our advantages is that our spin attack with Shakib and Miraz, it's really built on tight economical bowling. They're not really big wicket takers.
Yeah,
but they can build pressure and they can get wickets that way. They can get wickets by building pressure. So I think that will be vital, even on those flat conditions in England. But also the fielders have to back it up with good fielding.
Yeah. No, whatever the bowling package that we have, I'm saying on most days we can trust them. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah.
Plus, there aren't too many new slots anyway to give to the bowlers. We kind of have a set 5, and maybe the 6th bowler we could talk about a little bit. But I'm more worried about the batting side of things, because even after all these cool new explosive batsmen and people coming in, I still feel Bangladesh is that side that they're collapse prone. They can collapse any time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So how do we fix that then?
That's purely it's a mental thing in my opinion. We have it's a long World Cup. There's 9 games, and the good thing there is that it allows you to get into a groove. It even allows you to have a dip in form and then come back in the tournament.
It's not a 2-game group stage, so
No, it's not.
No, let me make it specific. So I feel like we have enough power up top if they click, Tamim, Kaez, Shomo. For middle order, we have the trusty Mushi. It's been good.
Riyadh.
But see, okay, so that's where I feel Riyadh is more of a finisher. If you can put him in that
Well,
spot.
yeah, he's more of a finisher, but
So
yeah. So if
can
he,
we
Middle
can
order
we
is a finisher, right?
yeah, 5-6,
Ideally.
that's the finisher role. 5-6,
if
7, yeah.
yeah, if you want to see it that way. But if you have to separate the two, I was thinking, can we pair someone with Mushi to just get the engine going, get the ones and twos, and not players who don't take any time to settle? Can we put Mitun in there? Can we do that or not? Okay.
No, I don't think Mitun is the answer. That's just my opinion.
I had you.
Mossadegh is the guy.
I had you all
Mossadegh,
the
I
way
think.
to Mitun.
Yeah, no, yeah, you did because when you were like, "Can we pair someone?" and I was like, "Yes, we can." And this is a guy that probably should not have been dropped. We've been talking. I probably mentioned this every single episode, like a Banga record, man. But Mossadegh probably is a guy that we should pair with Mushi and put him up the order. He can't bat. He didn't do too well batting at 7 or 8 in the ODI team, but that doesn't mean that he can't bat at 4 or 5. And if you pair him with Mushi, let's say, Mossadegh bats at 4 and Mushi bats at 5 or the other way around, right? So let's assume that it's going to be Tamim and Imrul opening, Shomo at 3, Mushi at 4, you have Mossadegh at 5, Shakib at 6, Riyadh at 7, and then Mushi's probably going to keep wicket, so you don't need another wicket keeper.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm fine with that. I don't know how practical that is. Like, I don't know if that's gonna really transpire or not. But
Okay.
let's agree on the finishers. I feel that Riyadh and Shakib is good enough. We don't need
mm,
Saifuddin
I don't think Shakib is I don't think he's great as a finisher. There's no
Yeah.
room up in the top order. I think so by default we have to put Shakib at 5 or 6, and he'll do fine. The thing is Shakib is not he's not a weakling, but I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think he's as good at finishing as
No.
Riyadh and Mushi are our best finishers
Yeah,
because
no, that's true.
because when it comes to the final overs, they know which ball to hit, and they have the shots to put those balls away for 4 and 6. Shakib can do it too on his day, but I feel more confident and comfortable with Riyadh than Mushi there. I think that
Shakib kind of relies on being cheeky, right?
yeah.
For his aggressive game, and that may not always work against express bowlers that we are gonna face a lot of it, right? Mushi and Riyadh, I mean Mushi again, he is a fantastic timer. Mushi can play proper strokes and then still clear the boundaries. And Riyadh is a very strong bottom-handed player.
If he
Much
stays,
stronger than
if he stays till the 50th over, I don't have a problem. Let it be. But I'm just saying Shakib gets his runs quickly. So if he comes in say at 40th, then we can expect him to stay there, right? We can expect that much out of him.
So this is where we would need really detailed analysis. Shakib gets his runs quickly, but I feel that he gets his runs quickly in overs 10 through 40.
Yeah.
So because Shakib's game, and we've always talked about how he's not very technically sound. He's got a pretty ugly batting technique, whatever, but it's very effective. And Shakib is able to find those singles, and he's able to find boundaries when he needs them, so he can score quickly. But I don't think he's got the power in the final 10 overs. So if you look at final 10 overs, I think that Mushi and Riyadh probably are our best, have the highest strike rate for Bangladesh batsmen in the final 10 overs. And actually, now that we've mentioned this, I think I'm going to actually try to dig up the stats on this for the past couple of years, and let's see what the stats actually tell us.
I don't mind Mushi Riyadh finishing if they can't stay.
Right.
It's just that
I'm just gonna say this. I think for me, I would always try to have Shakib and Mushi playing next to each other, because that kind of mitigates, that kind of minimizes that probability of collapse, because these two guys can hold on if we get some early wickets down. Mm-hmm. So you need to have those two together. Right. That's A. And then B, I think whichever player that you guys are thinking to have, whether it's Mossadegh, whether it's Liton or Ariful or Mitun, I think it's still going to be down to that 6 players that we have right now to win us games 9.9 days out of 10. The other position is just for like, I don't know, it's just for the sake of having
support. It's like auxiliary support.
Not even support. It's just it's damage control on days we are gonna lose anyways.
No, we said that, Rinat. We're going for perfection here. Just have the
11. That, and we're trying to pick the best 11 or the best 15 players, and I really think Mossadegh probably is in that list because we've seen Fazle Rabbi and how complete of a package
You're
he
really
is.
making a case for Mossadegh, huh?
But
We've seen, we've seen Shanto. Unfortunately, Shanto doesn't look like he's ready. I think that he's talented, but
What happened is they're gonna try Mitu now, because he got his chance in the third ODI, but he didn't get to bat, right? So he'll probably get his chances after.
And Mossadegh in 5 games, he's strike rating at 45. So it makes it hard. It makes it hard to pick him. I'm not even gonna get to how many runs he scored because I'm gonna assume that since he batted so low, runs are irrelevant.
Yeah.
But just the fact that when you're strike rating less than 50, playing a middle order position, it makes it very hard to just rely on talent alone to pick.
But what I'm saying is, that right. I'll be sure Mithun has earned his spot on merit. I know you're not. But I do understand what you're saying. Like Mossadegh had a horrible Asia Cup, but most of the replacements have not done any better. Mithun is the only replacement who you can say has some runs behind him. And what did he have? He had I think in the Asia Cup he did have a half century. I think against Pakistan he did it, or against India in the final. I don't remember exactly which game. And then he had a half century against Zimbabwe maybe. I think Zimbabwe is weak enough that we should disregard performances against them. Asia Cup, whatever he did, that was good. That half century that he got, but
2 of them.
Yeah, I think he got a couple. Yeah, he had a couple of decent knocks. I would like to see him. Let's see how he does in New Zealand. Mithun. I don't know. Mossadegh's been there. Mossadegh, his only half century in ODI cricket, I think, was scored in New Zealand. And people say he can't.
Listen, it's not fair to Mossadegh, but you have to look at what we got right now. And
life isn't always fair, and we're talking about professional sports. This is this is cutthroat. This is
that
Mossadegh has years in front of him. Right?
Yeah,
that was bad.
I am very confident that he will be. He's still part of that future plan that we have.
No, that's true. That's true. But I'd like to see him now. Fairness isn't. I don't think is necessarily. It's not something we can always enforce and ensure especially in professional sports. So, but I think that the bottom line is that Mossadegh, he didn't. That I think that he should be picked now soon. And I mean he did okay in the emerging cup. I don't know what the standard of that tournament is, but
for a moment I forgot he bowls as well. He's a pretty handy spin.
Yeah, but his bowling is not really that reliable. Yeah. His bowling is.
I think Riyad's bowling is better.
Point. Yeah.
I think Riyad's bowling is better now.
Let me throw something out there. I've been thinking about this. After the second ODI, it was so ugly watching Miraj just flail his bat and miss those deliveries that he did. What if we bring Miraj to the middle order?
No, I think Miraj his ODI batting. I don't think is good enough at this point.
So he was pretty good. He was pretty good in the final though when he opened.
He was, but he batted a little slowly. Liton took a lot of the pressure off him in that.
That's probably because he's not an aggressor, right? He's but yeah, not right now. I wouldn't move Miraj anywhere right now.
I think Miraj,
end of the World Cup. Let's be done with the World Cup, and then Mashrafi is probably gonna leave at that point. Then we're gonna have to reassess the batting lineup anyways.
But you're saying that on the basis of his bowling performance, but his batting lineup is not gonna affect how he bowls. He's still gonna be a good bowler. Can we make more use of him as a batsman?
It's not because of that. It's just experimenting our batting order right now, which I am not comfortable making.
Oh, I see what you mean, because it's going to affect the other batsmen too when you put him in.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point. It's not so much. It's that if you give Miraj, let's say, let him bat at 6. That's why I said let Miraj bat at 6 against Zimbabwe. Then that would give him some exposure. We could be like, okay, maybe he's got some potential. Let's try him at 6 or 7 against West Indies. But we didn't do that. I don't think now is the time. You definitely don't want to experiment in New Zealand, and then right after that, the next series is the World Cup. Basically, we have that triangular tournament in Ireland. That's pretty much just warm-ups for the World Cup. So, I don't think that, I think we missed the boat in terms of experimenting with Miraz up the order. So I think now let him just, stay as a specialist bowler in the ODI team, basically, is what his role would be. So I agree with Rinat there.
You could do that. What else? I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a lot of time in the upcoming months to talk about the strategy for the World Cup and like the next two away series that we have is really gonna help us that as well.
Yeah. No, we haven't talked about the bowling. We've basically just talked about batting. We haven't talked about the bowling at all. So I guess we could do that for the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We started out with the bowling, saying how good they are, but then we quickly switched to batting and just stayed on batting.
And stayed on batting, yeah.
Because bowling, we don't really have much to worry about. It's just a matter of which pacer is gonna play between, like who are we gonna pick for our third or fourth seamer? That's basically. Yeah. Other than that, everything else is pretty established right now.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna change that.
So since we did use some points from the series itself to talk about strategy in the future. So how about this one? I was thinking about this. So Saifuddin comes in at third ODI instead of Rubel, right? And then he bowls the last over, and he does pretty good. I mean, sure, it was tail-enders in the opposition, but whatever. He does all right. So I'm thinking now, I'm trying to think in terms of the management. What are they thinking? Do they now feel Saifuddin's a better death over bowler than Rubel? And does he? I mean, I'm just putting it out there because this is what I.
No, that's a very good point. I think that Saifuddin being an all-rounder, having some batting capability, I think that he's going to be a very important player. He might crack the 11 quite a few times in the World Cup situation. So
it's the same thing with Rubel. I love Rubel. He gives us some. Even Mash said that in his interview. He has some weapons he gives us, his bouncers, his Yorkers. It's just that it's been time and time again where we trusted him to bowl well in the end, and he let us down.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, not always. Not always. I wouldn't agree with that. He has let us down, and so has Mustafi, so has Mashrafi, so has Shakib, so has Miraz. They all had their bad days, but Rubel may have had maybe a little bit more bad days, but then again, there were games where Rubel pulled off an absolute blinder and won the game for us.
But right? those games were all quite a while ago. Like this year, Rubel's death bowling. Like Rubel's lost us, I think, 3 games already this year, and all the other players probably have only lost us 1 game each, maybe. So
Rubel hasn't lost. We didn't lose many ODI games because of him.
Not ODI.
They were stupid to pick him for T20s in the first place. He's not a T20 bowler. So, I wouldn't count his T20 bowling for his ODI because, we all know he's not a T20 or test bowler. His specialty is one-day format. And in this format, again, his economy is 5, which is still very good. In the modern-day cricket...
Oh, I would definitely keep him in the 15 because he's got that experience, too.
I would, too.
But I'm not sure if I want him in the starting 11. Like you have Fizz and Mash. I'm kind of leaning towards Saifuddin because he has a batting capability. And then even Abu Haider, like we've seen, Abu Haider's been a pretty good death bowler. Yeah, it was only against Zimbabwe and Afghanistan. Those are the only 2 games he's played. But I think that he's got some tricks up his sleeve. I think that Ronnie can be a very good bowler for us. I'd definitely like to see more from him.
Here's the thing. I think we need a bowler to bowl in the power play overs because in those conditions, I don't think starting with spin from both ends is really going to work every day. And Mash is only one bowler and, his fitness is coming to a close. So I think this is where Rubel could play a part. For me, I would actually play all 4 seamers. I'm not a big fan of having an extended batting lineup. I know that our top 6 batsmen that we have are going to end up winning us games, if any. And I am actually going to have Saifuddin and the 3 seamers and Miraz there because I'm going to rely on our batsmen. It's simple as that. I think
it's a good idea.
Every game we have won in ODI, it's because of those top 6. I don't think a 7th batsman has ever won us a game in ODIs in the recent past. But having 4 seamers And it makes sense because our seamers have been our best bowlers in this format. So why not have 4 of them? But since Miraz can be effective, so I'll keep him as well. And I don't think his batting is any worse than a lot of other batsmen that we can bring in. Anyways,
No, that's good. Actually, maybe it's thinking too far ahead, but yeah, that would be my 11.
Yeah, I agree with Rinat. Like, yeah, why not have 4 seamers? So you'd have Tamim and Imrul, or whoever's the other opener. Then you'd have I guess Shomo at 3, Mushi at 4, 5 would be I'd like to put Mosaddeq in there. 6 would be Shaki. I would put.
Okay.
Well, then it's not going to.
If you put Mosaddeq, then you're running out of space, though.
Yeah, then you're running out of space. So okay,
I'm just
5.
saying that I don't want.
At 5, Riyadh at 6. I guess Saifuddin at 7, or Miraz at 7. Saifuddin at 8.
Mash at 9.
Mash at 9, Fizz, and then Rubil.
Yeah, but that's not too bad at all. And
no, it's not a bad lineup.
And depending on the day, I like the fact that Mash has like so many weapons, just like a Swiss Army knife. Like he'll look at the opposition and know, like, okay, I need this much out of this bowler, and then put him in there. So it's cool.
Because think about it this way, that if we have 4 seamers, Mash is gonna have enough resources early on, enough resources in the middle, and then enough resources in the end. He won't have to bowl himself in the last 10 overs. He can finish his quota early on where he's more effective. And he can keep Saifuddin and Fizz for the end. And these 2 bowlers are less effective in their early overs anyways. So it balances out really well. And then Rubil is someone we know that he does really well in the middle overs and sometimes early on, if the conditions are right. So, you're right. He has more resources to play around with. And then Shakib and Miraz can bowl around all those 4 seamers, and they can just be that economical bowlers that, that prevents a lot of runs.
All right. So let's close this one out. But before we do that, let's talk about West Indies a little bit. But the good thing is there isn't much to talk about, I feel, except how them came to play. One guy we're really worried about is Hetmeyer, but Miraz took good care of him. So I think it's back to the drawing board for them. We did our part as a professional side. We took care of it, but man, it doesn't look too good. And what was Powell? Powell's not a good captain. Robin Powell. I read also the body language of the players, and he doesn't seem to have an idea of what's going on in there. If you want to add something to that, Alfie, Rinat.
I'll go. I guess doesn't look like Rinat has much to say on this. I feel like Robin Powell. I think they just picked him up. They just selected him at random to be captain. Honestly, I think. And the West Indies team. I don't know what their problem is. I feel like for limited overs, they have not found players who want to play the game and who also have the requisite skills and the talent. In tests, they're kind of building a pretty reasonable team, at least in their conditions, or in fast bowling friendly conditions, they're building a reasonable team. And this is probably the best test West Indies side in 10 years, and it's because they've got committed players who want to play. Because before you always had a bunch of these drama queens like Gale and Pollard and Bravo who just wanted to play T20 cricket around the world. But their limited over side, surprisingly now, is struggling. They've fallen way down in the rankings, but they've had a good series. They had a pretty good series in India. I mean, it's not It's not easy to win a game and tie another game in India, but they managed to do that. And then they won a game in Bangladesh. It's not easy to win in Bangladesh either.
Do you know? Do you know why O'Shane Thomas didn't play the third ODI injury? Or I didn't actually read about it.
No, they asked Rovman Powell about it, and he said they just looked at the pitch and they thought they would take an extra spinner, I think is what he said. Yeah. I think that's what they had. Roshan Chase and Devendra Bishu. So
they took Fabian Allen.
Is he a spinner?
Isn't he? I thought that's why he was picked.
Yeah. That's probably why he was picked, Fabian Allen. Yeah, so Powell just was like, oh, we just decided not to pick him.
I don't think that was too smart, because that was one bowler.
Yeah, he was taking wickets, but I think he was a bit expensive. I think it was a high economy rate. Maybe that was the thing. Maybe they thought that his economy rate was too high. I don't know, but I think he was probably the leading wicket taker for the West Indies. And excuse me. Oh,
he looks like a good prospect to me going forward.
He does, yeah. He looks like a pretty good prospect. Good action, a lot of pace. He's young, him and Alzari Joseph. So those are the kinds of the players. Hope I think is really playing well now. In the past,
outstanding. I was hard on him. I said he's a test batsman only, looking at his strike rate in ODI.
he was until like a month ago, and then he had like a great series again in India, and he's done well in this series too. And these are like difficult the conditions are fairly similar to West Indies, but he's done well. Hetmeyer is very talented.
Oh yeah.
So those two batsmen are really good. But beyond that, I don't see many other batsmen for their one-day team. I mean, they have some good power hitters like Rovman Powell and Andre Russell.
There were problems in management as well. That's what's up.
I think they'll have another player that's probably going to come in pretty soon. His name is Shane Rutherford, I think. He has been doing well in the T20s pretty recently, and some people from West Indies has been comparing that him and Hetmeyer are pretty close in terms of talent, talent ceiling. So he may come in too. But I think an in-form Andre Russell can make a huge difference to that squad, because I think the biggest problem in West Indies right now is they have their batting lineup is divided into power hitters and then grinders.
Yeah.
There is no middle ground, which is I think
exactly.
which is something Bangladeshi batting lineup is really good at. Almost every single batsman in our batting lineup are very capable of rotating strikes now, and they don't get bogged down with pressure very often. Like it happens once in a while, but most days our batsman knows the game plan. They know how to keep ticking the runs.
They can bat fluently throughout the innings.
Yeah, exactly. But West Indies, I think they have players like Samuels and then Bravo who are like they're just wasting deliveries, and then you have players like Rovman Powell who's just coming in and trying to give it a hack. In the ODI, it's a 50-over game. You have to play consistently throughout the innings. You can't rely on the last 10 overs, and you can't rely on grinding, and then you can't rely on playing aggressive throughout the 50 overs either. Both of the plan is going to backfire on you. It's going to be a balanced game.
Right. And so that was it, guys. For West Indies, I guess you guys have to figure it out for yourself.
Back to the drawing board, like Shamim says,
Yeah. And
he must have had his heart in his mouth.
Be hard on your management too. I know we are very hard on BCB, and something's going. I don't know.
I mean, West Indies cricket board is just. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. They're just an incompetent bunch.
And management does matter, because if you look at Sri Lanka as well, another poor management and another poor squad right now. Like if you give me right now, I'd rather face West Indies and Sri Lanka every day of the week, because I think we can beat them. That's how management does play a huge role. Maybe it can affect the confidence of the players. Anyway, going off in another direction. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
This is the 24th episode. Thank you two for joining. See ya.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.